Hello, hello. When it comes to AI art generation, things are moving at a lightning speed. As you can imagine, between DALI, DALI 2, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion, it seems like things are changing almost on a daily basis. So that's all great. That also gives us an opportunity to learn and grow at the same time. Now, by the time I could get my last video on Stable Diffusion created and published for you guys to refer back to, I found out there's another offshoot, another version of Stable Diffusion, also online over the internet, that you can use just as easily. The neat thing about this version of Stable Diffusion is it's got a nice user interface built into it. So stick around till the end to know exactly how to use this version of this Stable Diffusion. Shouldn't take you too long, and I can assure you by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use it to create your own AI generated art. All right, so for this version of Stable Diffusion, it's called the NSFW Disabled NOP Stable Diffusion Colab version 0.54. I'll have the link absolutely in the description below. Now, before I even get started with this version, the only thing that you need to make sure that you have is you have a Google account. That being said, before I even get started with the very few steps that's there, and it's very intuitive in my mind that anyone can follow. But before we start with that part, the only thing I just want to make you aware of is that I created my prompt using this Prompt Mania. It's a free tool as of the current date. I know things change all the time, but for the moment it's free, and there's an option for Stable Diffusion prompt building, and it's called the Stable Diffusion Prompt Builder by Prompt Mania. Again, I'll have the link in the description below. So this is my prompt. I'm just gonna make sure that I copy it for future. Now, the only thing that we do once you have accessed this through the link, you just have to start running. Of course, there are the model terms of use. It doesn't hurt to read those, and some basic information about the versions and what are some of the improvements they have made over time, which is all great. And they have some examples of some of the changes that they have made. I think it's pertinent to image translations. So I'm just gonna ignore that for now. Just want to show you how this part is done. Now, obviously, they're suggesting that you need GPU, and that's part of the reason we are here at Google Colab. In my case, I don't have a powerful laptop or computer, so I have no other choice but to use the online version, and this is one of the great versions as well. And with Google Colab, which is what we're using right now, what's neat is it starts with GPU access, so you can up it to TPU if you ever need it. But for any type of art generation, AI art generation, GPU is more than enough, more than sufficient. So once again, the only thing that you need to watch for is anytime that you see a play button, you just click on that. As simple as that. Now, I think I've seen that warning before, so you just say run anyway. And as always, Google is reminding us that to run this type of model to generate AI art, you need high RAM. Part of the reason that we are here. So we'll just say okay. So now it's running. And I don't think it takes too long. It's just doing some initialization, and it seems like it's already done. And the way you know, once again, is when you see a check mark, a green check mark right next to the play button, you know that that step is completed successfully. So then we scroll down, and they have some description of the diffusers method. Again, we don't necessarily have to read that for now. So the next part is actually jumping straight into generating an image, and this is where you see some sort of an interface built into this model, which is great. And it says that the mode is prompt. There are some of the general settings, and by default, they prefer keeping it at 512 by 512 for width and height. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Scale, again, they left it at 13.8. I'm not going to touch it. Seed, I've seen in most cases either it's 0 or -1. So I'm just going to leave it at the default seed of 0. Scheduler, again, leave it to the default. We can always check what other options we have. And if you have time, feel free to play around with the other options for scheduler. But for now, I'm just going to leave it to the default. So I'm not sure exactly what DDIM ETA is. So I think it's better off that we leave it to the default anytime we are not exactly sure. There are some documentations, and I can link up some of the documentations in the description that goes through each one of these with some details, so you know exactly what some of those items are and how to change them if you ever feel like. So precision, I've seen AutoCast being used in most cases. I'm just going to leave it to that. Do we need an image to image post processing? I'm not going to do that because we are going to do text to image in this case. So we're going to have one text prompt, and then we'll let the system generate, the model generate our requested image or images in this case. So I'll just skip that part. They're saying the upscaling setting is done by adding GFP GAN and enhanced ESR GAN. I've seen that in other models as well, which is great. I think it enhances the images being generated, so which is all good. Upscale amount, leave it to the default once again. I'm not sure exactly what the fidelity does again, so I'm just going to leave it to the default 0.8. Sharpen the amount, so it's already sitting at 1. I don't necessarily think I need to sharpen any more than that, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Now the file location, so this is their prompt file location, perhaps that's what they're saying here. Don't worry too much about it, it's already set for you. So this is prompt setting here, and this is where I believe the prompt needs to be replaced, and that's what we're going to do in just a moment. And there are other prompts, by the way, that you'll see. For me, I looked at it this morning, and all I had to do for the text prompt is where I change it, because I once again wanted to generate text to image. So that's the only prompt that I decided to change, and that's all that I did. So why don't we do that right now? So we are going to change their default prompt that they have as an example and replace that with the one that we have. Okay, so it seems like it took only part of that. So I'm just going to go back and make sure that I copied the whole sentence, whole prompt, and then come back and make sure that I capture the whole prompt here. So let's do that. There we go. So it says painting, two-dimensional, 4K, 19th century French countryside, Monet style. So let's leave it at that. Now the prompt steps is set to 200. I think is more than sufficient because some of the other models that I played with, I think they left it at 50, at most 100. So I think leaving it at 200 is sufficient. So I'm not going to do anything else here. So before we run that step, why don't we just look at what they're suggesting here for the other sections. So they're saying clip guided prompt. So if you ever want to use a clip, I'm not sure exactly what that does. And as I mentioned that I didn't touch the other sections, I didn't need to. So what they're suggesting is that clip guided prompt, and once again you're more than welcome to play around. It's all free. We've got enough GPU thanks to Google Colab, and it doesn't hurt to play around. I just wanted to give you a quick exposure so you know exactly how to use it. So that's the one, but they're cautioning that it's still buggy and finicky, but works with AutoCast. So that's part of the reason I decided, okay, why even bother? I'm just not going to try that part. Now, in painting settings, so they have another prompt that's built into it, and they have an image that they're using. I didn't touch it, I left it to the default. This is where they're saying if you were to generate image to image settings, you can always change that image prompt. And they also have a URL for that image there. And the version setting, they're using the Stable Diffusion version 1.4. From all the research I've done so far, that's the latest version for the moment as of present time. So that's great. Now there are some advanced settings here too. I'll link up the description, and if you have the time, you're more than welcome to play with all the different settings and see what kind of image that you end up generating. So that's all good. I didn't touch the advanced settings. I left it to the default, and that's all there is. So now that we know what are all the different settings here, what the different sections are, let's just run it. And considering that we are running on GPU, I'm hoping that it shouldn't take too long. So let's see how long it takes, and hopefully we get some great images being generated. So we just have to give it its time, and we'll come back to look at those images in just a moment. So now it seems like that it's building the pipeline, which is great. As long as you see that it's clocking that play button, and as long as you see that it's doing its stuff, that's all great news. So this is part of the process, I would imagine, that they have to go through to create that environment so that this model starts doing what it's supposed to do and start generating some nice images for us. All right. So it seems like we're getting somewhere. And there is this the message that pops up, and it says that permit this notebook to access your Google Drive files. Remember how I told you that you need to have a Google account set up? Part of the reason is so that what this model is trying to do, just to save you some time and just to ensure that anything that you're generating is saved, it saves all of those images into your Google Drive. So it's asking you for your permission to connect to your Google Drive. So part of the reason you need to have that Google account set up. So I'll just say connect to the drive because I know I have an access. And this is where it's asking me to log in, which is all great. And it says Google Drive for desktop wants to access your Google account. This is great. This is all good. I say allow. And now it's doing its work again. And what that means, it's set up so that all your images goes into your Google Drive. But I'll show you another way that you can save it as well. So see how there's only two steps literally that you have to go through for it to work. And because it's got that nice interface built, it is so easy for anyone to use it. So this is great. Now it started generating some of the images. So it's sitting at 13%. I'm really excited to see what kind of images are generated. That's the beauty of AI art. We don't truly know until we get those images how the images are generated and how they look. Hopefully they look great. Let's see what images it starts generating now. There we go. This is our first image. And what it does, I noticed from this morning, as soon as it generates an image, it does an auto upscaling, which is great. Still enhancing and upscaling. Might take a few minutes to run. Just have to be patient. It's going through a whole bunch of stuff, but if we scroll down, you'll notice that it starts enhancing, and it already did. It enhanced our first image, I believe. So if I scroll up, and it seems like, is it the same? I think it's the same. Yes, it is the same image. And if you look at the upscale version, it looks so much nicer here. Okay, now it's going through the second image, and I believe it generates 4 images for you, and each time it upscales the image for you as well. So it's already generated the second image. This is really nice as well. Now it's going through the enhancing and upscaling part. And it has already done that. If you notice that it's already enhanced and upscaled it. This is another great Monet style painting, which is great. It's just amazing. The more I see some of these AI art generation tools, Every time it just amazes me. And I can only imagine what the real artists and painters might be thinking about these ones here. So I like that one. And now I'm not too sure about the third one, but that's okay. That's why they give you a whole bunch of options here every time. So it seems like that it's just taking a frame and it's just surrounding the actual painting with a frame, which is great, but it seems like it's cut off on one side. Okay, so this is the upscale version. Still a nice painting, but obviously I wanted to see the entire painting not cut out on one side, which is okay. So let's see what it does next. I think this is the third set. So if I'm not mistaken, there should be another set that comes out. So that's the third one. Again, it's in a frame and it's just put the painting inside of the frame. I like the first two so far. So even after enhancement, I would think that even though the painting itself is quite nice, but you know, obviously it's your choice, but I like the first two and I think I like the second one the best. This one here. So it's all great. Now, as simple as that. That's all we needed to do. And it seems like it's all done. And you can tell because it stopped running and there is a check mark, green check mark on the left, which is good. Now the only thing and the last thing I wanted to show you, if I were to go back into my Google Drive, where can you get those pictures or images from, generated images? By the way, if you want, as always, if you like any one of them, one option is for you to directly save it by right clicking and saying save image as, and then adding or just giving it a name and saving it into your local drive. That's an easy option. But another option is if you go back into your Google Drive, into my Google Drive, one quick way is to go into Google and you see those dots in here, Google Apps, you click on that and you see right below there's a drive option there. Just click on that. And in there, the very first folder you see is AI Pics. So if you expand that, that's where you get to see all of your images being saved. So there's no need to worry in case you get disconnected or if you close the session accidentally. Rest assured that those images are saved for you in your Google Drive, your personal Google Drive. So there were other images that I generated this morning. Those are the top ones, but there's obviously a timestamp. And as you can see, the four upscaled versions are the ones that are being saved into your Google Drive. That's exactly what I expected. Now, if I open one of them, so if I double click one of them, it shows that image, and this is the one, if you remember, I liked a lot. All you have to do, if you double click on it, on the top right hand corner, you see that there is a download option there. So it's a down arrow. So you click on that icon. It's your download option. And once you click on it, it downloads it straight into your laptop or your machine's download folder directly. And that's exactly what it's doing. So that's that. I hope you like this version of Stable Diffusion as well. As I keep exploring and I'm finding different stuff and I see all of the changes that are happening, like I said, almost on a daily basis, it seems. As I find interesting stuff, rest assured that I'm going to keep bringing it to your attention. And I just love it. I'm not a painter, I'm not an artist, but it's just amazing the stuff that's been happening, especially over the last couple of months. It seems like there's an explosion of the type of art that can be generated using AI art generator. Now, whether it's ethical, that's an entirely different discussion. And I'm not going to get into that, but all I can say is just amazing to see some of the images. As you can see, the one that we're looking at right now, it's just amazing what I'm being able to create with the help of AI art generator. So that's another option for you. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks.